Alright, why don't you start us off, game?
Howdy, stranger. If you're fixing to take on Mad Dog McCree and his outlaws, you need to do a few things.
Well, there's actually not much to know. You shoot and you reload.
First, you'll need plenty of ammunition for that six-shooter. Reload it by putting it back in your holster.
Well, that's how you do it in the arcade. The home ports use the more common method of shoot outside the screen. In the DVD version, you don't have to worry about ammo at all. Initially, your revolver holds 6 bullets. In special conditions, it can hold more. Somehow. Although the exact amount depends on version. Halfway through the game, your ammo capacity gets upgraded to 12. Maybe you pick up a second one? Although in some versions, you're stuck with a 6-shooter the whole game.
Second, when you see a cow skull or a spittoon, you'll want to shoot it, because it'll sure help you.
To be specific, shooting one of these objects will fully load your revolver with an additional 3 bullets, making 9 in total. It's only temporary though. Once you fire off the extra bullets, they're gone. Depending on version, you may keep them or lose them when you lose a life. Also, on some versions, you might lose them if you try to reload. When your capacity upgrades to 12, it's just a reload. However, the objects are good one time only per life. In some versions, you get an additional 6 bullets for 12 shots. However, not every cow skull or spittoon grants a bonus. What's more is some versions recognize some objects and some don't. On the DVD version, none of them work, since it doesn't even bother with ammo. Of course, this being a Western, occasionally you'll have showdowns. You know, those duels where people try to pull out guns and shoot each other faster. In the arcade version, you had to put your gun back into the holster, and you couldn't take it out until the appropriate time. If you don't, you automatically lose. Naturally, the home ports do this differently. PS3 version comes the closest. Instead of the holster, you have to point the move away. On just about every other version, though, your weapon will be unloaded, and you can't reload until the appropriate time. On the DVD version, your crosshairs will be randomly placed on the screen. I guess there wasn't anything else they could do.
Third, when you see a road sign or a fork in the road, you'll want to shoot where you're heading. Finally, when you see this, once again, shoot where you're heading.
Well covered, game. Anyway, it's a bit late, but here's the gist. Shoot bad guys before they shoot you. Don't shoot innocent people. Occasionally shoot the right inanimate object. If you're shot, you shoot an innocent person, or you otherwise significantly fuck up, you lose a life. Pretty standard stuff, right? Unlike other games, though, you have to restart from the beginning of the scene. Number of lives you have depends on version. If you run out of lives, you have to continue. Also normal stuff. On some versions, when you continue, you get into a showdown. What's more is you will only have 1 life. If you win, you get the rest of the lives. If you lose, well, you have to continue again. Even though I'm pretty certain every version has unlimited continues. What was the point? DVD version takes it to the extreme.
Looks like this good old boy
If you lose the showdown, it's game over. This relates as much to my walkthrough as it does the game. Events occur in one of 3 ways. There's fixed, preset, and random. Events that are fixed have only one possible way they can play out. What this means for you is that every single time you play, you know exactly what will happen. Events that are preset have more than one way they can play out. The game will choose one option per playthrough. What this means for you is, you won't know what to expect the first time you go into a scene, but you'll know every time after that until you play the next game. If an event is random, there's more than one way it can play out. However, the game chooses every specific time it comes up. What this means for you is that you will never know what's going to happen. Well, there's no real power-ups and no unique enemies, so we'll just jump straight to this part. On most versions, random scenes are not truly random. The game will randomly choose an order in which enemies will appear, but it is an order nonetheless. The game cycles through every possible option before it repeats. Take, for example, this scene. 3 possibilities. If this guy pops up, the next guy to appear is going to be either of the other 2, because he cannot pop up again until they have. And then when the second guy pops up, it has to be the last guy remaining. Once you've run through all the possibilities, a new set starts. The actual number of occurrences you will get depends on the scene, the difficulty, or even the version. Generally, you'll go through one full set. On some versions, a couple scenes have exceptions, but I note those in the walkthrough. On the DVD version, they are indeed 100% random. This one's admittedly kind of obvious. Usually you can shoot enemies well before the cutoff time. This being an original Laserdisc FMV game, sometimes you can shoot at the space where a guy is going to appear and you can hit him early. If the game starts loading, you scored a hit. This is largely up to your version, so your mileage may vary. This one's easy enough to stumble across, also easy to miss depending on how you do it. For this one, you need to go to the sheriff's office before completing the saloon. More specifically, you have to get to the second scene. Once you do that, you'll get the trophy.
Oh, thank God you're here. Look, you gotta get me
You don't even have to live to see the end of it. A nice reference. It's pretty self-explanatory, and not that hard to do. You can't miss and you can't reload. Okay, obviously you can't miss, however you also cannot reload. It does include cow skulls. Anyway, 6 consecutive hits is not asking much. On the other hand though, your shots don't all need to necessarily hit different people, since there are a couple enemies that take 2 shots to kill. I don't know if valid targets like this count, but it shouldn't be an issue. Same deal, except this time, it's 12. It's a lot harder. First, you're going to have to get yourself 12 bullets, and there's only a limited amount of places to do that in a game. What's more is virtually none of the scenes have at least 12 guys to shoot, so you're probably going to have to go over more than one scene. If you're looking for the best place to do this, there are 2 possibilities. One is the second to last scene. The scene contains both a cow skull and 15 enemies. This is the only scene that's a one-stop shop for this trophy. But then again, it is probably the hardest scene in the entire game. If you want it faster, option 2 would be the corral. The very first scene has a cow skull, regardless of which version you get. Although the version with the 2 guys is better. You can still do it with the showdown guy, but you'll have to be a lot faster. You can score 3 hits on the first scene, then the second scene has an additional 9. Unfortunately, if you screw up during the second part, you won't be able to go back to the first scene. There is another cow skull though, so you'll at least be able to score 9 hits here. You'll have to get the other 3 somewhere else. Honestly, it's not a difficult trophy to get. It was one of my first trophies. Well, this is easy. I'm sure you don't need my help. On the first corral scene, regardless of which version you get, you take out either the single guy or the pair, then just stand around and do nothing. Congratulations, you're dead, but at least you got a trophy. For this one, you're gonna let Jakov shoot the bartender before you shoot him. Then you just need to complete the scene. Okay, this one's related to the story, but it specifically refers to the second time you potentially save him. Doesn't matter what happens to him the first time you meet him. You get this one when you save the prospector from that big pile of dynamite.
Oh, thanks, stranger.
This is arguably the hardest trophy in the game, certainly the biggest pain in the ass to get. This one isn't worded the greatest. You get this one at the mine by shooting 3 consecutive bottles out of the air. Your accuracy does not matter. You can fire as many bullets as you need.
Try another one.
Self-explanatory. You'll get this when you finish the game. While I can't say myself, apparently the arcade version has a cheat. If you hold your gun upside down, every time you fire, the gun also reloads itself. Needless to say, this greatly simplifies the gameplay. Never actually thought to try it on any of the home ports. Who knows, maybe they made the game gun the same way on the home consoles. Although honestly, how useful really is this? How hard is it to reload in a timely fashion? The real challenge lies in shooting the enemies before they shoot you. You can cheat during the showdowns. On the 3DO, it's really easy. This has to be a glitch. Just point at the character and hammer the trigger. The gun will automatically load itself. You might be able to do this to reload throughout the game. It seems to have a random chance whenever you pull the trigger, though. So it's definitely not a reliable method. A method for all versions would be point your gun at the bad guy, then just simply block the front of your gun. While the game intends for you to have the gun pointed away from the screen, assuming you do it right, your shot will not hit the screen. As far as the game is concerned, you fired off the screen. Thus your gun will be reloaded. Then you just simply remove your hand and you can shoot the bad guy as normal. Just don't try this with a real gun. Best case scenario, it doesn't work. Worst case scenario is really messy. If this cheat works on any version besides 3DO, it has to be one with a menu. If you get shot at any point during the game, just simply pause, quickly in this case meaning before the scene changes, then select continue. The game will put you right back where the guy appears. You won't even lose a life. This even works during the random parts.
Good luck, stranger.
Forget that, I got the whole walkthrough coming up.